No losses, just upgrading my lessons, made blessings. I turned that into money. They gotta never settle. This view is so much better. I'm chilling, I'm winning.
Welcome back to my channel. So today I filmed this back to school everyday glam. I really do enjoy the way it came out. Please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video. Don't forget to thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. Okay, so I'm gonna start off by filling in my brows. I'm gonna take this LA Girl Shady Slim Brow Pencil in the shade Black just to fill in my brows. I like to just outline the natural shape of my brows. I don't tend to fill in too much because I already have naturally thick brows. So I just fill in the sparse areas, which is primarily like my tail, and I just fill in majority of my tail and a few little sparse areas right in the middle and on the bottom, but not too much. The tail is pretty much the only thing that I worry about because that's where I lack my hair the most. So once I'm done with that, I'm going to spoolie through my brows, make sure I didn't leave any clumps of product in my brows and that the product is evenly dispersed. And then I can kind of see where I need to go back and add more product or brush away and take away more product. So I'm just filling in those areas again, making sure that my brow is as full and as defined as I like it to be. So then I'm going to take my Maybeline Instant Age Rewind Concealer, and this is what I'm going to use to carve out my brows. Most of the time I only carve out the bottom, but if I do decide to carve out the top, I will use a concealer that's closest to my skin tone, which is this one in particular. So I just use this one to carve out the bottom and the top, like I did on this brow. So I just used a Morphe M432 brush. It's a flat definer brush, and I use this to get right under my brows. So I'm just taking it and I'm placing that concealer right underneath my brow. And I'm also taking a little bit of that concealer and I'm dragging it down, just so it'll create an easier blend when I go in to blend out the concealer. Also taking that same concealer and I'm going to carve out the top of my brows. And I'm just going to take that same flat definer and go over the top and clean up any mistakes that I made along the top of my brow. Okay. So now I've cleaned up the bottom and cleaned up the top. And this is what it should look like. So then I'm going to take my Real Techniques Deluxe Crease Brush and I'm just going to blend that concealer out. Okay, once that concealer is blended out to my liking, I want to take a little bit more of that concealer and place it on my lids, just so my eyelids can have a even base. They're one even canvas. And since we're not doing any eyeshadow today, I'm just going to use my skin tone, same color skin tone concealer, just so I can have an even canvas. Okay, once I've blended that out, I'm going to take my Real Techniques Small Beauty Blender and I'm just going to pat that out just to make sure that everything is well blended. Okay, since we're not doing any eyeshadow now, we can move on to the face. I've already moisturized and placed eye cream on my face. I use the Lancome Energy DV moisturizer and the Clinique All About Eyes eye cream, the gel eye cream. Now I'm going in with this coconut and pear refreshing spray by the Little Barn, and I'm just going to spray that all over my face. And this stuff, I love this. Next, I'm going to take my Wet n Wild Dewy Primer, and I'm just going to place that all over my skin. I have dry combination skin, so I'm only oily in my T-zone. So I only place very little of this in my T-zone, but place majority of it everywhere else. And now I'm going to be going in with my Smashbox Studio Skin Foundation in the shade 4.3, and I'm just going to place that all over my face. For foundation, I like to use a beauty blender for this type of look, simply because I don't need as much coverage since we're going for an everyday back to school look. I like to use this to soak up any excess product that I'm placing on my skin. As you can see, this primer gives a really radiant glow underneath foundations. Not even just this particular foundation, but it gives a radiant glow pretty much under all of the foundations I've used it with. I really do like it. Highly recommend that primer. I'm just going to take a little more of that foundation and place it on the back of my hand just to cover my forehead. I'm just going to pounce that into the skin. Make sure that that's all well blended. I'll be going in with some of my favorite concealers. These are the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Concealers. I'm going to use the colors Medium Deep Tan and Dark Cocoa to highlight my face in between. So I typically like to do it just in triangular motion under my eyes, my nose, cupid's bow, and chin. And then I just place the dark cocoa in the middle of that. So I place it here, here, here. I think the dark cocoa is a little darker, a little closer to my skin tone, and the tan is a little too light for my liking, so those two together works perfectly for me. And I place a little bit of that dark cocoa on my nose, and then I'm just going to blend that out with my beauty blender, my same beauty blender that I took to blend out my foundation. Just going to spray it with a little bit of that spray and blend that out. I always like to look up when I'm blending out my concealer, just so I can get right up under there. Then I take the bottom of that beauty blender and just go over the edges where I use that foundation just so it can blend more seamlessly. So as you can see, I'm just going back over with the bottom of my beauty blender and just pouncing it around my skin to make sure everything is evenly blended and distributed. Okay. Now when it's blended out to my desired liking, I'm going to take my Makeup Revolution Loose Setting Powder in the shade Banana to set my face. Currently, I put it in my old Sasha Buttercup container because if you've ever seen the Makeup Revolution powders, you know that the packaging is a little messy. So I just find this a little more convenient for everyday use. Just take a little bit on the back of my beauty blender and I press it into the skin. Right where I place that concealer, I just press that on into the skin. I don't really like to bake a whole lot because it dries me out even more. So I just find it a little easier when I press it into the skin. And then we're going to do the same thing for the other side. Place it on the back of the beauty blender and press it into the skin. And you just keep pressing that powder in until it's all pressed into the skin. I also like to take a little bit of that same powder and just set my eyelids because I did place that concealer on there and you don't want it to crease throughout the day. So just take a little bit more of that, place it on my lids, and then just press that in as well. Also not forgetting to go over the nose, the cupid's bow, on the forehead. I like to go a little bit heavier around my mouth because I tend to oil up right there a little quicker than I do anywhere else on my face. So I like to go a little heavier with the powders there. So now that we've got everything set, we're going to go ahead and set the entire face. And for that, I'm going to be using my Maybelline Fit Me loose powder in the shade dark 40, and I just like to use this very lightly to set my entire face. So I like to just use the powder with a powder brush, take a little bit of that powder, swirl it around in the top, tap off the excess, and just use this powder not only to set my face, but to bring back some of that color to my face that was taken away. So I just use that, place it all over my skin, my forehead, and that's going to bring back some of that color. So once I'm done with that, next I'm going to contour. So to contour, I'm going to take my Black Radiance True Complexion Contour Palette in the shade dark, medium to dark rather. And I'm going to take the darkest shade to contour. Lately I've been liking to use my jumbo fan brush to contour, so I just take it and chisel out my cheek. also like to do my forehead. Just a little on my forehead. And a little on my nose. I don't like too defined of a nose contour. So with this brush, it does me very well. I also like to go in with my Real Techniques contour brush and just go back over some of those areas that I placed it and just define my contour just a little more. Okay. So once that is defined, I just like to take a very, very light amount of powder and just chisel out my contour. Same on the other side. So now I'm going to be applying blush, and I'm going to be taking my favorite blush, which is the Wet n Wild Color Icon blush in the shade Mellow Wine. I use this blush like legit every day. Every look I do, I'm using this blush pretty much. So, and sometimes I can go a little heavy on the blush, so tap off the excess, smile. And I'm just going to place that on the apples of my cheek, and I'm going to bring it up a little bit. Just so when I apply my highlight, it'll blend a little easier. Same thing, tap off the excess. Brings a little color, flush the color to the cheeks, and I really like that. Next, for highlighting, I'm going to be taking my Anastasia Sundipped Glow Kit and using the color Bronze, I think that's bronze, to highlight my skin. Lately, I've been liking to use my Sigma E40 blending brush to highlight. I just like the way it looks. So I'm going to highlight the highest points of my face, which is my cheekbones, a little bit on my forehead, my inner tear ducts, my nose, cupid's bow, and chin. So I'm just taking that bronze, and I'm going to start off with my nose, and just place a little bit of that on my nose. Then I'm going to take it to my highest points of my face and then bring it down to the apples of my cheeks. Just a little glow, just a little. And don't worry, we're gonna go back in and blend it out and mesh it with that blush. But right now we're just applying it on, placing it where we want it to go. Okay, and then I'm going to take it on my cupid's bow, just a little, on my chin, a little on my forehead, just a little, and then my inner tear duct. Okay, once I'm done applying it, I'm going to go back in with a little bit more of that blush just to blend out that highlight. I'm going to take that blush, place it right in the middle, and just help further blend out that highlight on both sides until it's blended to my liking. Okay. When I feel like it's blended quite evenly, I might add just a little bit more highlight, because sometimes I feel like I can kind of take away from the glow when I add that blush, so just a tad bit more highlight. Just a tad bit. Then I'm gonna spray my face one last time, but this time I'm gonna be using the Wet n Wild along with my Little Barn. Brown myself in that. Fan in and let it dry just a little. And then I'm gonna take my Wet n Wild matte setting spray and just ooh, excuse me. Just spray that onto my skin. With this particular look, I don't like to go for lashes. I like to go for that more. It runs about $3 or $4. That more natural looking. $3 or $4.99 makeup. So I tend to go in with my. So I just like to coat Essence Lash Princess False Lashes mascara. It's my. With this, it really lengthens and makes my lashes a little bit more noticeable. For when I don't want to wear falsies. Also, I'm going to take that same mascara and place it on my bottom lash line. I'm going to be taking my favorite lip combo right now, which is the NK lip liner in brown and my Anastasia Beverly Hills Undressed lip gloss. 9 times out of 10, if you see me, I'm wearing this lip combo. It's my absolute favorite. So I'm just going to take this and line my lips. Then I'm going to take that lip gloss and just place it in the center and rub my lips together. Go back and clean up any